listening to Truth or Dare to Share by Ambitiously Intuitive.
Welcome to this episode of Truth or Dare to Share, where we are talking about Wicked. And just like any other Broadway show, we have multiple acts. In Act 1, we are giving our reaction. In Act 2, we are asking each other questions. Some of us have seen the show. Some of us need to be convinced to get tickets. And then in Act 3, as per usual, we are playing the game Truth or Dare, but personal development style, because as friends, we like to hold each other accountable and keep each other in check to just be better people. And what better way to do that than with our favorite stories?
Absolutely.
So who wants to start in terms of their reaction to Wicked? I'll skip Michelle since you've seen Wizard of Oz, right?
Classic.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why don't actually then you tell us what you remember from Wizard of Oz? I know that's putting you on the spot, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
A-okay. So I actually still have the VHS original of Wizard of Oz.
Oh, shit.
And I have a VHS player still. Yes.
And it works?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Wanna
I
borrow
borrowed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
To watch my childhood movies.
Classic. To me, when I was watching it when I was younger, it was a little scary because she gets crushed by a house. A little traumatizing. But it was so sweet. I loved her. I loved her relationship with the crew and the lion and the Tin Man. I think I cried watching it. Probably one of the 100 times I've watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And spooky because of the witch. But that was a much younger version of myself and what I remember feeling. It's been a long time since I've watched Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not watched Wicked. I apologize to all you Broadway fans.
No need to apologize. Women apologize like 2 or 3x at the rate of men. So keep your apology, but we will convince you hopefully by the end of this.
I take it back.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you
You're
will
welcome.
see Wicked in November.
Yes, we just decided we're going to see Wicked. All right.
We just decided in the
We're
last
off
like
to see
15 minutes.
Wicked.
Anything I can do to convince my friends to come visit me in New York City. So that's the incentive. Kenyatta,
Yes.
Wicked, your thoughts?
You will be popular. You're gonna be popular. I love Wicked. I love Wicked. I loved it. I love the untold story of the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Wizard of Oz didn't scare me. The witch wasn't scary. It made me afraid of tornadoes.
Oh.
It did do.
That's
But
fair.
I just love this story because it's all about perception.
Mhm.
And it teaches a life lesson. I love how the life lesson is like people will switch up on you
Mhm.
to gain.
Mhm.
Very real. I will say I was cackling a little bit because I seen this post on my favorite place, the internet, and and it said the Wicked Witch had every right to be mad because a house crushed her sister and Dorothy Hillbilly ass stole her red bottoms, and I died.
That's funny.
I died. And from that moment, I've always liked the Wicked Witch. Because, like, if somebody stole my sister red bottoms after she just been hit by a house, I would be pissed off too. So,
I'm sure Chianti and Kiara are glad to hear that.
but no, I thought it was phenomenal, and it was a story that needed to be told.
Yeah. Yeah. When did you see Wicked?
A while ago.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved to New York that was the hype. I mean, it's been around for quite some time, and rightfully so, with Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth being the original Linda and Elphaba. So
Yes.
anybody who has not seen Wicked, Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West, and this is her origin story. And I was talking to the girls at Ulta this morning, and one of the girls who's more of Gen Z has not seen Wicked, and she's like, is it the story of Maleficent? And then the other hairdresser that's a fellow millennial were like, no, this is about the Wicked Witch of the West. So I also grew up watching Wizard of Oz, and I remember watching it so many times every single day that the tape inside of it ended up stretching, and you take it out, and then I never got a replacement. So that was, my core childhood. Yes to tornadoes. I was so scared of the Wicked Witch of the West, especially when she sets him on fire.
Yeah.
She had all of these, I don't know, she did all these things for her, and that was the original cackle. When you said I cackled on TikTok, I was like the Wicked Witch of the West. And then I remember We all went to the same high school. I remember in sophomore year, I was in a program called Gifted Studies. So it sounds like a humble brag, but it's actual fact. And it's a mixture of English, social studies, and psychology. And they were talking about how in The Wizard of Oz was actually written to be symbolic of them leaving the gold standard over for silver. So everybody represents something. Like the Oz was the president at the time, Grover Cleveland. And the reason why I'm wearing my mother's earrings is because it was not originally red bottoms. It was silver slippers because they were moving over to silver. So it was a political message. And then I'm a Florida girl, born and raised, but I've lived in New York City since 2015. And I didn't really understand Broadway. I have a good friend, Carrie, saying hello, who has seen more Broadway shows than any other person. She has a list somewhere, and she could talk to you about any play and also stack rank them. And she just is extremely well versed in the theater and is really passionate about it. And that's not uncommon in New York City. And it took me a while to go see Wicked. I can't remember who I saw it with for the first time. He did take my mother, and do you know what she did? She fell asleep. Now, we had been walking all day long. She goes to bed early. I am sitting on the edge of my seat in the theater. I think it's the Gershwin Theater. They don't have those opera boxes. And I don't know how I got these tickets or how it came to be, but we were in the front row of the orchestra, and it went off to the side, and there were 3 seats. And it was myself, my mom, and Debbie. And I am on the edge of my seat because of how captivating this story is. And it starts with you learn about where Elphaba comes from, and she goes to school with Glinda, Glinda the Good Witch, but her original name was Glinda. And anyway, halfway through, like right before Defying Gravity, my mom is out. And everybody in the theater, which my mom's not a big musical person anyway. She will listen to me sing in the car. She does enjoy my singing. She's probably one of the few people. Maybe we got some more fans now after our rendition of Popular. But I've now seen Wicked a few times. Most recently, Cynthia, who's a fellow co-host on this podcast, who is sitting in Gainesville today, we went and saw it together the last time she came to New York City, most recently in February. And I catch something new every single time, but it also is a political message if you think about it. Or let's not say political, let's say, this is my diplomatic response, that it's observing what's going on in society and doing it in a creative way, like using artwork to acknowledge that there needs to be some sort of change. And so in this story, all of the animals can talk. She has a goat for a professor.
Right.
And what's happening is Oz is trying to silence the animals.
Mm.
And it pisses Elphaba off. And what you find out is that everybody in the Wizard of Oz that you thought was her enemy were actually at some point her friends are connected to her in some way.
Right.
And then you find out Glinda is actually the popular girl from high school who
She's Regina
she's
George.
Regina George. Oh man. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Your frenemy, nice to your face, and she bullies Elphaba. And Elphaba's sister Nessa is
Nessa Rose.
Nessa Rose is in a wheelchair. So, and then She's Green, Nessa Rose, came out quote unquote normally, which even saying that is
But can we just say Elphaba wasn't a nobody? She was the governor's daughter.
governor of Munchkinland.
Yes.
Mhm.
So they were like, when they came to the school, it was a big to do that the governor's daughters were at the school, but they only thought they were getting Nessa Rose. They didn't know about Elphaba because her dad was kind of embarrassed about her
And
having green skin.
and she one of the witches from Wizard of Oz?
Who?
Nessa Rose.
Nessa Rose.
Yes.
So Nessa Rose is the witch who got crushed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the shoes that she was wearing were actually a gift from their father. And you learn in the very beginning that Elphaba's mom cheated on the governor with this mystery man. And then you actually see Elphaba being born in one of the opening scenes. And actually, the opening, it's giving me the chills just thinking about it. The opening is they're singing Wicked, She's Dead. Like they're celebrating the death of the Wicked Witch. And the people go to Glinda and they're like, hey, weren't you friends with her? Because she's trying to leave. She's like, I think one of her opening lines, which she says is something like, she says, the headphones just went a little bit. So my thought process got a little bit ruined. They're like, oh, it's great to see you. She's like, it is nice to see me, isn't it? Like that's her vibe the entire time. Is even in the song Popular, she's like the very ending line, she's like, you're gonna be popular, but not as popular as me. That's I mean, granted, the girl's got confidence.
Mm.
But then she's the one retelling the story to the people of who Elphaba was. And so you learn from the very beginning that her dad hated her.
Right.
Nessa Rose was treated better for a multitude of reasons, but one is that she was not green. And then she immediately is getting bullied at school with the mean girl Regina George being
Right.
Galinda.
And her sister is in a wheelchair. Gotta add that.
Yeah.
And why did they change the pronunciation of her name?
It's a great question. So before we get there, what's really important is that they're trying to figure out room assignments. Nessa Rose is going to stay with like the head
The
mistress.
headmistress, yeah.
Miss like Orville. Her name's not coming to me. She's an important character, but I don't really recall her name. We'll look it up later. But Elphaba, she's taking her sister away. And so the first time you see her using her powers that were natural, like her power was built in with her, whereas Galinda wanted to attend her sorcery school and like wrote an essay about like wands. What's the point? And so then
Did she also have natural powers?
No.
Okay.
So Elphaba accidentally ends up rooming with Galinda.
Mm.
Then you see them in school together, and the madam of the school is basically saying, like, says to Elphaba, I want to personally tutor you. You're going to tender my
Because
sister's
natural
soul."
talent's so rare.
Mhm,
Only the wizard has natural talent.
supposedly.
Which is her dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the goat, it's so funny. Like anybody who's listening to this who's never seen this, is like,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, every episode is a spoiler alert. He can't pronounce her name. He's a goat. So he's saying like Linda. And then when you find out that they are capturing all of the animals, at that point, Fiyero, who is going to be played by Jonathan Bailey, who is Anthony in Bridgerton. I'm extremely excited about this.
Oh.
Yeah, he's playing Fiyero,
Mm.
who, this is a spoiler alert, ends up being the Scarecrow by the end of the movie. And the song that he sings, I was listening to the soundtrack this morning. He's basically like, you might as well not try hard in life. His opening song, which is escaping me right now, and anybody who's a true Wicked fan is probably like, she needed to rewatch this. But he's basically singing a song in the opening scene, and Galinda immediately falls in love with him, and they have a dance. And there's a munchkin named Bach who's in love with Galinda, and he like pushes her off to Nessa Rose.
Yeah, on Nessa Rose.
And so Elphaba thinks that she did something genuinely nice for Nessa Rose, when in actuality it was just self-serving.
Hmm.
And so then Elphaba convinces the sorceress, the headmistress of the school, to put her in. And then the hat that she wears was given to her as a joke. And she shows up to this dance that Fiyero puts on because he's all about just having fun. He doesn't want to take life too seriously.
Right.
And then that's where their friendship starts, is because
She feels
Elphaba,
bad.
yeah, she feels bad that she put her in a hat that is actually out of style, which is the pointy hat that we know.
They actually say, like, when she's in her room, they're like, ew, what's this? And she's like, that's just my aunt's old ugly hat. I don't hate it. I would give it away, but I don't hate anyone that much. And they're like, yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gives it to Elphaba.
Mm-hmm.
So it's big mean girl energy.
The first 20 minutes is mean girl energy, but then that scene where at the dance, Elphaba's dancing and Fiyero's up to say, he's like, what is she doing? Like, she just must not care what people think. And Galinda's like, yeah, she does. And she goes over there and she starts doing her silly dances with her. And then everybody joins in and they go back to their dorm room. And that's when what Kenyatta started with Popular, that's where their friendship actually began. So that was the beginning.
Right.
Have we enticed you enough to want to go see it?
Oh, yeah. You said Anthony.
Fair enough.
I'm just
Fair
kidding.
enough.
Jonathan Bailey's in it. That's all you needed to hear. So we could probably tell the rest of the story through their question round. So let's move into our own act 2.
Okay.
You kick us off because you feel like you got something, or I'm
No.
sensing you have something to say.
Oh, no, your sense is
You started to do this.
No. Okay. So Act 2. Are we going into questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I got ChatGPT on standby.
I know. I have a whole list of questions here in front of me too.
What was your favorite part?
I think Galinda, she's one of those people that will do you know how some people will do anything for fame in the age of the internet.
Mm.
People are literally doing anything for fame. and
Anything for TikTok?
Yeah, anything
Okay.
for success. Honestly. So tell me about a time where you dropped your morals
Shit.
in pursuit of a game.
I asked you what your favorite part was.
Oh.
She's on the question. She's ready.
I'm gonna plead the fifth. I need to come back to this one.
Okay.
That I don't know if I ever did anything to like fully drop my morals. I did things that were probably morally gray. Like I've had like in my early teens, early 20s. It's probably because I think I ran into this person recently, and I did not handle a breakup well. And so I would go every week and find a new outfit. And then my friends and I would go to like the main club in Tallahassee, the Strip. And I just wanted to go dance and show I'm doing great. And I was not. And so I look back at that and it makes me cringe but the good thing is me going through that is and I've had relationships end that were friendships, which I would say were harder than any romantic breakup that I ever had, that it helped me learn how to deal with that type of pain. Because loss, I would say the most difficult emotions for me, and I would say most humans, but I haven't polled or done any research, are grief, shame, and guilt. And especially when all three of those are together, because I felt the grief of knowing this person wasn't going to be in my life anymore. Right. We had a very toxic, tumultuous breakup. So there was a culmination of shame and guilt. And somewhere I read, and I think this is probably Brene Brown, that shame is about you casting blame on yourself and guilt is feeling societal blame. And especially when you did betray your own value system. But I don't think Galinda, and we never answered why her name changed, when the GOAT professor was abducted, she knew that by that point, Fiyero and Elphaba had connected because...
By connected, you mean conspired against her?
No, they connected over... I can't remember what the scene was. I want to say they talked, or that they had connected, because it is a love triangle. This is a story about friendship. It's a love triangle. And so she realizes that Fiyero and Elphaba really care when the professor is abducted at the beginning, when you find out what Oz is doing, and the goats being like, professor's being pulled away, and he's like, they're not telling you everything. And she's like, I'm so upset about this that they're like, going forward, I will be known as Glinda. Like, she still makes a situation.
She is such a narcissist.
Yeah, but we've asked in former podcasts, can people change? And it's giving me the chills again. One of the reasons why, not myself, but the remembering of this story, the story is just such an impactful story, is Glinda's a phenomenal example about how somebody can change and how somebody can mature.
Right.
Okay.
Are either of you going to share your skeletons in your closet?
Girl, I don't
I'm not
wanna
answering
come up
that
in a
one.
bag of bones.
I just wanted you to tell me what your favorite part was.
My favorite part of Wicked, it's everybody's favorite part, Defying Gravity.
Yeah.
It's Defying Gravity. Like, it was
Elaborate for me.
so phenomenal. This is just when they performed the song in
Okay.
general. I don't think I would have watched Wicked if I had not heard Defying Gravity first. It was Glee. Glee was the reason I got interested into Wicked. And I, what's her name? She played Rachel.
Idina Menzel? No. I can see her face.
But anyway, that's when I discovered
I'll look it up.
Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth
Mm-hmm.
and what Wicked was. And when I seen the OGs perform, Leah Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
She did good. But when I seen the OGs do it, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta watch this.
So Defying Gravity is the peak. It's the last scene before you go into Act 2. And so basically Elphaba gets invited. All she wants to do is go see the wizard, which makes sense because girl got daddy issues. Rightfully so, which by the way, I can't fucking stand it when people say daddy issues because it takes away accountability from the man. It's like, he did a poor job being a dad. And so of course it's about like the being the child. Like, oh, you're making a face. But she does have issues with her dad, rightfully so, because he essentially
disowns her.
Disowned her from the beginning. And so she sings a song about the wizard. That's essentially the honor, if she does well in this sorcery seminar, is that she'll get to go meet the wizard. So she sings a song about the wizard and I was listening to it, and it's hard.
But the
sometimes in
wizard isn't her
Broadway.
dad.
No.
Okay.
Ooh, this is a big spoiler. You find out at the end that he is.
Okay. So they have
was-
the same dad then.
No.
You clarify. What do you mean have the same dad?
The sisters.
No. Oh, in the beginning, they think they do. They
Okay.
think that Elsa was just born with some kind of condition or whatever.
Because remember, you learn in the very beginning.
Because you said she
scene,
comes out normal.
Nessa does. Well, when we say normal, Elphaba is green, everybody else is not.
Yeah.
And so that is the condition that she's dealt with. But what you learn in the opening scene is that the mom was cheating on the governor of Munchkinland, who is Nessa Rose's actual father. But by the end, you actually do learn that the wizard is Elphaba's dad, hence why she also has these natural powers.
Okay.
But she's singing about him in the beginning, not knowing who he is to her.
It's just an honor to be a
Mhm.
sorcerer.
And I'm so used to watching things with closed captioning that when I go to Broadway shows, I struggle to hear the enunciation. So I was listening to the soundtrack today, and it made me really sad. She says something like, she's talking about this relationship she'll have with the wizard and I, and she's like, maybe he'll be like so impressed with me that he'll de-greenify me. I don't know what the exact lyric is, but I've never heard that when I've seen the show, and it made me sad because she's being bullied. She doesn't have anybody. The only person she has is her sister, but her sister feels burdened by her.
Right.
She thinks she has a friend in Glinda when she actually doesn't. The first person she really connects with is Fiyero, but he's already kind of promised to Glinda, and they connect over the fact that he recognizes her beauty on the inside, and she realizes he's much smarter than he actually lets people on to be. So defying gravity flash forward, then Elphaba goes to the wizard because she wants to flag to him everything that's going on with these animals and have him solve it. And Glinda wants to go because she wants to be.
the credit.
Yeah.
Like she wants to.
And then when she learns that the wizard is the one actually behind the silencing of animals because he has her use her powers, what are the Wicked Witch of the West's? It's also what scared me as a kid. What was she surrounded by in the movie? Do you remember? They're flying monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
She was the one to turn the first monkey into a flying monkey because she was tricked by the wizard to do some spell. And that's when she becomes really pissed off. And they realize that she's not going to use her powers to help them. So defying gravity is like the opening lines are, something has changed within me. Something's not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. And it's realizing you're not going to let somebody else manipulate you for their agenda. It's just such a badass story.
It is. Like just the title, Defying Gravity, defying what's holding you down, freeing yourself.
My favorite line is, so if you can find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. If you're in your car and you need to get something out, put Defying Gravity on. Nobody can hear you. I will not sing it for you right now, but catch me at karaoke and maybe you can see a rendition. It is it's the most cathartic song. It's in the top 1% of cathartic songs.
Okay. So
I have a question about, and I don't want to go too much into politics, even though I'm exceptionally passionate about it, and we're in political season.
It's election year.
It is election year.
Go vote.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, please go vote.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's about perception versus reality. So they were telling a narrative, and was there a time when you had one idea about something, like you perceived it, and then you realize you had a reality shift? I know that's a really esoteric, ambiguous question.
No, I think it happens all the time, though. Honestly, I know everybody's always like, well, I'm not going to make any opinions of others until I experience them for myself or I go and see things for myself. It's a lie. You form a preconceived opinion on situations, on people. I had that recently in the workplace because we were split into 2 separate locations, and it was only like 3 of us at one location, and I was the new girl, and everybody else was at this other location. And so they were giving me the rundown on people, on things, on how they act. And then I get over there, and I'm just like, oh, it ain't as bad as what they made it out to be.
Mhm.
Like, I had to see for myself, but I did go in there with the preconceived notion that I need to have all of these guards up, right? To block myself from these people. Like, naturally, I'm just a people person, but I went in there super guarded. So
Mhm.
now I have altered the first impression that I naturally give off to these
Mhm.
people. So instead of getting a genuine me, they got this guarded version of me, and they probably developed their own, opinion. Like, oh, she's a bitch, but I'm only bitch because they told me that y'all were bitches, and I needed to be bitch first so that we could all be bitches together, and you can't out bitch me. And like,
That's like why when I don't remember where I learned this from. I'm sure it's social media or whenever I
Mhm.
heard somebody say this. What somebody says about you tells me about them. How you respond to it tells me about you.
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
So somebody calling you a bitch, my deduction of that would be they have some issues with finding their own power,
right.
and you being unbothered by it or wanting to come in and being guarded is I have to be almost vigilant
Yeah.
and self-protected. And it sounds like rightfully so.
Yeah, and honestly, I felt a little bit ashamed by that. I was like, "You're a stronger person than that. You should have known better." I was
Yeah,
like,
they
"Alright."
kind of like they were treating you like alpha butt, sounds like.
And I'd also be surprised if anybody said that about you.
I know. It also makes me want to like pick up the phone and call somebody or show up somewhere.
Call HR.
No, I am HR.
My homegirl works there, and
We're not dropping any names.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving
Yeah.
that job soon, so I hope
Yeah.
they see this after this.
I need a little more context of the show, movie, Broadway.
Well,
sorry,
I mean,
book.
perception versus reality. I'm going to answer it a little bit differently because they perceive Alpha to be different
Right.
and not the same as them, the same way that anybody.
She's immediately an outcasted anywhere she goes.
There's also the perception versus reality, the perception of the message that they're being given about how and why they're silencing the animals versus the reality as they wanted to use it for their own control. And it also is really interesting metaphor for nature and how we treat nature and use our own resources. The way that I think about perception versus reality is sometimes people perceive me to be a bitch or perceive me to be a certain way. And it took me a really long time to be okay with that because then I realized that they're going to see me however they want to see me. Like what other people think about me is none of my business. Am I in that state of mind all the time? Absolutely not. But that's their perception of me when in reality, I know that I'm nice. Can I sometimes when the situation calls for it or I'm out of homeostasis? Absolutely. So
Mhm.
it's how do you perceive situations, whether it's on a personal level or on a societal or cultural level? And also how do they perceive you and can you separate those two? The other thing that's hard to reconcile is that you're never fully going to experience reality the same way as somebody else. There was some podcast where they were talking about how even if you grew up in the same household, your perception of your
100%.
parents are the same or your childhoods are the same because you had different experiences because of either where you fell in the order or the age of your parents.
I was just talking about this with my middle sister, and yeah, exactly. It's generational and what age you are. I mean, can you
Mhm.
remember it clearly? What you remember is maybe not what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you number 3?
I'm number 4.
4.
I'm number
Mhm.
4. I had a conversation.
You're the
similar.
baby.
I am the baby.
Yeah, we're all the baby.
We're all babies.
Yep. I had a similar conversation with my older sister. I said, I connect with you because you are my mother. I mean, shout out, Mom. Love you. But
I get what you're saying.
in a sense, my mom had 4 kids and she worked in healthcare and she used to work 12-hour days.
Right.
So
Mhm.
my older sister was always in charge of us.
Mm-hmm.
She was my mom.
That's like Lindsay. Lindsay says,
Built-in babysitter.
I'm the first kid.
Yeah.
Does your daughter say that?
Girl, no.
Have you met Genesis?
No, I haven't.
No. When you think of my daughter, think of Hillary Banks, okay?
That's hilarious.
Literally. But no, yeah, my older sister Chianti was my mom a lot of times. She was the person that got up in the morning, helped me get ready for school, make sure I got off to the bus stop.
Mhm.
A lot of nights, if my mom was working late, Chianti would make sure, we did our chores.
What's your age difference?
County's 2 years older than us. She's 3 years younger, 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
Because County was in SGA with me, and she was always incredibly nice.
Yeah, we're 5 years apart.
And then
yeah.
Kiara's the same age as us. We have the same birthday.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday.
Way early birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Way early.
But in a lot of things, it was like when I talk about my childhood, she was like, that's not how it went.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Or she'll give me like the context behind certain things that I was just too young to know at the time.
Right.
So it's like, oh.
Well, I'm going to shift us away from perception and reality unless you have something you want to add, because I think aside from that, the biggest theme of this is friendship. Like the ending song is For Good, and it's a duet between Galinda and Elphaba, because Elphaba wanted, it's the other thing that's in The Wizard and I is she says, I have a vision that's hazy where everybody's like celebrate singing about me, and then it clicked to me that they're talking about how they're celebrating that she died, and so she gives she foreshadows it in the song The Wizard and I, and that's why eventually, like she's saying in For Good, Glinda, you did all the things I couldn't do, because she's able to lead the people to shift their perspective to make things better. But because Elphaba didn't have the reputation, she had to take a back seat. And then they also fought over the fact that Fiyero was actually in love with Elphaba, or fell in love with her, because his shallow side should have been with Galinda, but who he was deep down was with Elphaba.
So that whole scenario gave me, this may tell my age, that She's All That vibes.
Which part?
Like how he...
Oh, with Taylor. Like,
yes.
Taylor is Galinda, Freddie Prinze Jr. is Fiyero.
Yes.
And then Rachel Lee Cook's character.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Can I tell you, I was thinking about love triangles the other day, and I'm really tired of them. I get that it's the will they, won't they, but they're played out. Can we just get some loyalty? Can we get some decision making and some accountability?
Oh my gosh. Love triangles are like a trigger for me.
Mm.
Can you feel my heart beating right now? Just like talking about, I don't even know if I like triangles anymore.
Yeah.
The
one love triangle I was in, I had to exit abruptly. Like y'all can have it.
If I find out that's what the storyline is, I have to really be convinced to watch it, because I'm over watching them. I get that it's a natural part of life, but think about it. It's also pitting two people against each other. And I get that we live in a competitive society, but it's like, if you're not sure about me, if you're in between two of us, like, you can have her.
But I feel like that's a little bit different with this one, because Fiyero, he was never like
into it.
Yeah, he wasn't like into, you know, most guys in love triangle, they're playing both sides, right? And the women ended up being pitted against each other.
I don't want to know the psychology.
Naturally. But I felt like he was just like,
he was kind of like flying through life.
Yeah, I don't think he was serious about Galinda.
So he was playing Glenda and Elphaba?
No, I feel like he wasn't playing them. I felt like Galinda had attached herself to him.
And he wasn't interested.
And he just ended up liking Elphaba.
Okay. But
loving her.
But just to confirm.
He never loved Glinda.
No.
Like, he was cool with her because you find out he went to all these different schools, and he's at the latest school, and all he cares about is having fun.
Right.
He puts on a dance the first night. He's like, what's fun here to do? And she's the most popular and prettiest. And then he gets to know Elphaba on something deeper, because they save that lion. They bring a lion in to show off what a cage is, think about a world where we wouldn't even know what cages are. So they're introducing that concept. And so she frees the lion with him. So they run away to go free it. And they're a little angsty and a little snarky with each other. But
flirting.
No, let's not teach the next generation.
Is that what it is?
I think that's how you and I flirt, not to each other. But we're like,
Karen,
I'm not sure
don't comment.
No, Karen, absolutely comment. I can't wait to hold her accountable to this. So, I mean, I know this is a lot of information to go through. It's a 3-hour play. And we're leaving out a lot at the end, but it does end with Glinda and Elphaba apologizing to each other. For Good is a beautiful testament to their friendship and everything that has changed, and how their friendship will transcend time. And we can't talk about you and me for a second. We've been cool since we met. Michelle and I, the girls who did our hair this morning, they're like, you guys must go a ways back. And I was like, well, I've known her since I was 14, but we were like,
well, you're
cool.
She says I wrote something in her yearbook. I don't know, sophomore year of high school, and I have no recollection of it. I also don't have many memories. No, I don't think so.
No, this is the TLDR, the too long didn't read.
Just fact. Anybody that doesn't know, Lacey has a memory like
No
an
other.
index Rolodex or whatever it's called. Like she can remember anything. I don't remember much from high school. So
It's a blessing, mostly a blessing. And I just like this. It's not a curse in this exact moment because Michelle doesn't remember it. We only had one class together. We had fourth period PE, gym,
See.
whatever it was called. And I even remember that our teacher, Michelle and I both have she was better at volleyball than me. I didn't play on the team in high school, but she even had us I was doing this with Kellen yesterday, 50 bumps, 50 sets, and everybody had to get in a line and we were the model
and this is
citizens.
probably exactly what happened because that's
Yeah,
Lacey's
I
memory.
can remember where in the gym that we were. You know how we would like have practice up on the stage?
Yeah.
It was in front of those bleachers, not the ones that they're like,
See.
move on with your life.
The detail.
And
Amazing.
so I thought we were cool the whole year. I think you came over one or two times to stay the night. And so I thought we were cool. And
I stayed the night with you in high school?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you should
once or twice. Well, we didn't after freshman year, we didn't have any
It
classes
wasn't common for my
together.
mom to let me go to somebody's house. That's why I asked.
Yeah. And I remember coming over for your birthday because it was in
I had a
the
birthday
garage.
party. That wasn't common either.
Girl.
You can ask your mom because I remember meeting your mom and I was like, oh, this is what people must feel like when they meet my mom. Like she's just very strong and intimidating, but because she's just a confident, like take no bullshit. I love you, Miss Jessla.
I love that.
And so she just reminded me of my mom. But yeah, we didn't have like a frenemies. It was more we were acquaintances.
Gotcha.
And our paths didn't cross enough. But she did write the weirdest shit in my yearbook that was like, I know we had it out, and I was like, we did? Nothing ever happened. So not that I like look at Elphaba and Glinda and
I think we need a picture of this yearbook.
I will post it on our Instagram.
Oh my
I will. And it's actually written in really beautiful block letters. It looks great. But I do think there's something really dope. I remember I don't have that many friends now from school. Like we reconnected later on when you came to New York, and you're one of those people that we pick up and we just immediately can time travel backwards. But I remember crying to my sister because I wanted to switch from Little Flower to Bellevue. And Lindsay's like, Lacey, you haven't met your lifelong friends yet. Like relax.
Yeah.
Which was very wise words of my sister. Lindsay's got a lot of wisdom packed inside of her.
I
And
feel that from her.
yeah, she
Mhm.
does. Lindsay's just another tough cookie that when she get past the layer, she's like,
It's like an
You're-
onion. Got to peel it back.
you both feel it because you're on her good side.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yes.
And yeah, so Michelle and I reconnected in college. She came to visit me a few times at Florida State, and then we both moved back here in August of
2009.
Yeah, and then we're doing this for life now. At least I think, because once you've traveled the world with somebody, and I can be annoying to travel with, I can get on her nerves, and vice versa. But I have my people now, which is pretty dope.
Yeah.
And they were immature in the beginning. And you watch them go through that maturity to get to a stage of for good. And then there are friends that I don't talk to as much anymore that I still feel that love for them, that I'm glad we had that chapter.
Right.
So anyway, I'm like space filling.
Well, I think I understand what you're saying, though. I mean, everybody has their chapters of their lives and growth and development, and
Yeah. And just
you've got to have experiences in order to grow.
right.
Yeah.
And I think Wicked is like the missing chapter from The Wizard of Oz that we needed because there's been so
I'm
many
excited to see it.
renditions of that story,
yeah.
and none of them ever really touched on the Wicked Witch of the West. She was just a Wicked Witch that was killed. Like,
Oh, I love the comedic relief when she's like Dorothy's crying and she's like, relax, like you and your dog too. Like there's the callbacks to the Wizard of Oz. Because when you watch Wizard of Oz, obviously everybody loves Judy Garland and loves
yeah,
Somewhere Over the Rainbow and the romanticism of her just wanting to go back home. But Elphaba didn't have a home
Right.
to
Mm.
go back to.
Mm.
And she had this power inside of her that she thought was problematic. She thought everything about her was problematic. And by the end, she realizes that she shouldn't withhold her power and that that inspired Glinda because Elphaba had no choice but to be herself. She couldn't change her skin color, which how many people, going into different prejudices, or even like her sister was she couldn't change her situation with the wheelchair.
Yeah.
She accepted who she was, and Glinda was always putting on a facade.
Mm.
But what Glinda was able to do was talk to groups. And so I think Elphaba learned Glinda's confidence, and Glinda learned from Elphaba selflessness.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, you don't want to fact check any of it?
I know. I can agree with that. Yeah, because Glinda did become pretty selfless at the end and loved. I mean, she was loved regardless, but I think the love was more genuine
Yeah.
at the end. I feel like at the beginning, people just wanted to be her friend.
I have 2 questions. So, how does she find out that the wizard is her dad?
Oh,
It doesn't happen until the end. And I don't know if she does specifically, but I remember when Glinda confronts the wizard, that's when they figure it out. That's something that maybe we'll leave that for folks to see it for themselves.
Okay.
yeah,
With the
because it's been a
new-
few years for me.
And I wonder what they're going to change about the movie with Ariana Grande. And you were telling me about Cynthia.
Arrival.
Mm-hmm.
So they have not experienced the
Powerhouse.
powerhouse, the talent, the just absolutely amazing Cynthia Erivo. You're in for a treat. If you've never seen this lady, if you've never heard her sing, if you've never seen her perform, you are in for a treat. Like, very rarely does Broadway have like just that natural standout talent.
Mhm.
And she is it. I believe she's from the UK.
Mm.
And if you just watch some of her interviews, she's so uniquely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because in Wicked, the headmistress, what did she say? That her sister was tragically beautiful. And Elphaba's like, well, I'm just beautifully tragic. But I think Cynthia's going to do amazing with the character. And we were talking about the vocals, and I'm like, Ariana Grande is a vocal powerhouse, obviously, but
Yeah.
like Cynthia Erivo is,
She's going to show up.
Did I hear you say she's the original from Broadway?
yeah,
Mm-mm.
she did Celie in The Color
Celie.
Purple,
Okay.
yeah, on Broadway, and
Mhm.
it was my favorite Celie ever, and
She's a Broadway superstar.
she is
The originals from Wicked, and this is in the late 90s, were Idina Menzel, who was Elsa
Mm.
in Frozen, and she also was in Rent.
right,
So she was the late 90s
Broadway superstar,
Broadway superstar.
and then Kristen Chenoweth, who is legend at this point. And this is my proposal for Kristen Chenoweth to redo the Audible of Wicked on Audible.
She's making a request.
I am, because I tried to listen to it, and shouts out to the guy who first did it. The book is not as exciting as the play or the film.
the
But I think,
musical.
yeah.
They're not singing to you on the Audible.
Yeah, they're not singing. And it's like,
That's a
people
good
of
point.
Munchkinland, like,
Yeah, if it's a Broadway on the audio, there should be different tunes and
well, no, it's just the book on Audible. But if they were to just have Kristen Chenoweth narrate the book and then throw them songs in there, I think it'd be so entertaining, and I would listen nonstop.
So you said something earlier, and I have been thinking about it. I have a difference of opinion. I didn't hear any songs from Wicked before I saw the show.
Oh, really?
And so it just, like, it was I've been told in this past year, people had these life-changing experiences like we were told, and I'm going to lose some clout or what any that I have. I was told that the Eras Tour was going to be life-changing, and I looked at Michelle and I was like, the only thing that changed, it was a great concert, but I was like, is that I'm never standing for a concert for this long ever again. Like, that's the
y'all had
life-changing.
standing tickets?
We
the
have,
first one we saw, and I will never have floor tickets.
I will
again
never have
Floor
standing.
tickets suck.
for that.
Like, I
particular
a few
length.
months later, T-Pain came to Central Park, and I'm actually also making a request for T-Pain to do a Christmas album, a holiday album.
That would be so fun.
Mhm.
I've been tagging him every Christmas for the last couple of years, and he recently had, I guess the state of Wisconsin gave him a national holiday, or not a national, like an annual holiday, because so he's so
Okay.
poetically rhymed mansion and Wisconsin, and I did.
Wisconsin.
I did have tickets, and it was a 2-hour show, but I was standing. And listen, I would not describe myself as Swiftie. I'm definitely an appreciator. I think it's amazing to have a 20-year career. When she came to the Beulah Sausage Festival in 2007 and was able to transcend, do what Shania Twain walked, so Taylor Swift could run in terms of
Absolutely.
transcending country over to pop music.
Mhm.
But yeah, I I will go see T-Pain again. I don't know if I'll see Taylor Swift again because the Eras tour was great. But in terms of life-changing, I would call Wicked a life-changing musical. I would call Defying Gravity a life-changing musical. And yeah, I won't stand it. I won't stand for anybody for 8 hours. We took our shoes off in Paris.
No, that's period.
I've
Any
never felt
type
more
of
country
event
in
for
my
8
life.
hours.
Yeah. I looked at her and I was like, I'm either going to leave or I'm taking these shoes off.
But in Taylor's defense, y'all are not her audience anymore. I have to tell that to a lot of women.
Yeah.
And
I had a great time. We went and
Listen,
saw her again.
I
but
listen
we
to the
had
Eras
seats.
set list while I lift weights. She
Yeah.
gets me through lifting weights.
she is phenomenal. But I have to tell women, millennial women, because we all know how we felt about Taylor Swift when we were upcoming and heartbroken and all this. She is not, you are not her audience as a
Mhm.
grown woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to like her songs. You're going to feel those nostalgic feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But the 15-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, 8,
Mhm.
that's
No, you're-
that's who she's
Truth.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we grow out of that,
Yeah.
but she stays in that because the girl knows how to make money.
Mhm.
Yeah. She's a savvy businesswoman. And it's funny, this goes back to, we were saying in a previous recording how women apologize more, right?
Mhm.
Maybe I said that at the top of this episode. But I've not listened to the song The Man. I listened to it at least once, at one out of like 3 workouts, because she talks about how the labeling for men versus women, I'd be a fearless leader, I'd be an alpha type. When everyone believes you, what's that like?
Yeah.
And so she does come out with some music that it hits. But
Right.
when we were little,
Yeah, it's relatable.
we were listening to Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. They're 42, 43 years old.
We're still listening to Mariah Carey.
They're 6, 7 years. Well, that's just like our sisters were listening to Madonna and Janet Jackson because they were about 6 to 7 years older, because you're looking ahead to, it's like your pop star older sister.
Right.
Like
Right.
Miley Cyrus, I think. No, Taylor Swift is closer in age. Miley's closer to your age, early 30s.
Yeah.
But usually you're not listening to somebody right at the same age as you.
Yeah.
no.
Because they're
Yeah.
singing about something from years ago, and it's like, bro, sis, we've been through that already.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I have another question.
Yeah.
You
Do
gonna
the
take us
an-
back to Wicked or Wizard of Oz? Or are we
Yeah.
staying on? Can we go back to T-Pain?
Do the animals get their voices back?
Do they give it?
I don't know if I know the answer to that. Do you feel like that was addressed head on?
I don't think that they do. I don't think it's ever the same.
Tag me if you know the
I
answer.
think that,
Yeah. Comment if you know the answer to that.
And I hate that Wicked's not something that's really available for you to stream or watch like
well, it
that.
will be after this movie.
Well, after this movie.
I
yeah.
watched a YouTube version of it, and it was not Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. Like, they did fine,
Mhm.
but you can, I don't know, this is making me sound like I know music, but it did not do, I would not recommend watching the YouTube
Is the
version.
book relatable to Broadway?
I didn't make it through the book.
Okay.
So I
It's
can't
the
answer
source
that.
material for how they created the
Uh-huh.
musical, but nothing hits like the songs. Like,
Yeah.
Popular for Good, Defying Gravity, The Wizard and I. There's one about the love triangle where she's like, I'm not that girl. She's the other thing she likes to make jokes of is that Glinda's blonde. Which Alphabet's jokes.
Was
like,
Wicked
stick the
in the
landing.
80s or 90s?
Late 90s, early
90s.
2000s. So
Okay,
it's
90s.
been around.
Yeah.
The book came out in 1995, and then it was made
95.
into a musical a little bit later.
All right.
Well,
So truth or dare?
yeah. Before we go into Truth or Dare, anything else we need to add about Wicked?
No, go see it. Go experience the powerhouse that's Cynthia Erivo.
Ariana Grande,
Who else?
Jonathan Bailey.
Hmm.
That's what Michelle's going to go see it for. She's just trying to.
I'll
to
tell
live
you
up
what
her
I'm going
dream.
to see it when I give you my truth or dare.
Okay. Kenyatta, Truth or Dare?
Truth. I think Wicked had me really questioning my self-perception.
Mm.
And I'm going to live in my truth. I'm not going to. This sounds like a dare, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to live in what others perceive me as.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be more true to what I actually am.
Mhm.
Like Elphaba. Elphaba didn't change.
Mhm.
Throughout the whole thing, she didn't change.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel the need to change. Like, I don't know if it's coming with age or what may have you, but I am what I am. You
Yeah.
can take me or you cannot take me, but it's not going to worry me either way. Like, because Elphaba, I felt like she cared, but I felt like she didn't care that much.
Yeah. Or she didn't let it affect her choices of following her dreams and like ambitions.
Yeah.
Because I think that insecurity is just a natural part of life.
Yeah.
It's more about doing it despite those feelings.
I think the word I'm looking for is authenticity.
Mm,
Authenticity. I'm going to stay true to my authentic self.
love that.
Mm-hmm. Lacey, truth or dare?
Oh, I always go last, but I
No,
will
girl.
happily. Yeah. I had originally written down that it was a truth that I just really love my friendships.
Oh.
And that story is just a reminder to cherish them. And then after we were talking about defying gravity, I was like, so I'm going to do both. My truth is that that's what this story brings out, is how much I love my friendships, my family. If Lindsay's listening, my friends and my family, because they can play both roles. And then the family members that we didn't, or that we were able to choose in our friendships. And that's what came out for the story for me. But then one of the obvious dares is to defy gravity, because the one thing I feel about Elphaba, and you two have heard me talk about this before, is that I always feel conflicted about being from the South and now being in New York for the last 10 years. And I went to a conference a few years ago where this gentleman who started a restaurant was talking about the power of and, because he always felt like as an immigrant in this country, he had to choose between what's my identity? Am I a New Yorker? And it was the same thing with his cuisine, and he ended up creating a fusion.
Mm.
And I think when Elphaba realizes her power, it doesn't matter where she is. Like, she knows who she is. And so my thought process of defying gravity is I'm allowed to be more than, like, there's more than one part of me. There's the southern
Absolutely.
part, the northern part. And I think that goes into your authenticity, and that if you have the right people around you that support you, hence why I cherish my friendships. Anytime I want to quit something, before we started this recording, I call Michelle or I text her and I'm like, I'm freaking out. I have this presentation. And she like either texts or calls me and she says,
Power pose, power pose, power pose. Laughter, laughter, laughter. Something else.
smile.
Smile. How can you not feel good after that?
Yeah. And we talk to each other at different times. And it's a beautiful story about friendship. Forget the love triangle. That's like a side quest. But we're gonna be together the majority of this lifetime. And that's what makes it easier to defy gravity. Close us out, Red.
Well, reminder, I didn't see it yet. And I was thinking it would be a dare, because I was going to dare Kenyatta and I to make
Book a
it
flight
happen
to New York.
November to
Yes.
see it on Broadway together.
Yes.
But it's not a dare, it's a truth. It's going to happen. So
gonna do it.
I am calling my truth our truth, and we will be in New York City to see Wicked with Lacey in November.
And
Yeah.
hopefully one of you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Can we get
spoiler alert?
Amina, Cynthia, and Raquel? Can we convince Raquel to come over from Puerto Rico, Cynthia from Gainesville,
We
and Amina
should.
from Amsterdam?
Call out.
We should.
Yeah.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. Love
Do
some
it,
gentle,
do it.
gentle peer pressure. Any closing thoughts outside of truth or dare between self-acceptance, cherishing your friendships, defying gravity, and coercing your friends to get on flights to come see you?
Whatever's holding you back, let it go. Oh, pun intended, because Indina Menzel.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, nice work, Kenyatta. Cool. Well, I won't add anything to that. Thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to like, follow, and share, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
You're listening to Truth or Dare to Share by Ambitiously Intuitive.